So Maddie T.
She's not there. She's missing in action. What about our Charlton Maddie?
Let's go to Charlton Maddie.
How are you going with COVID?
There she is.
Learning?
Yeah, going pretty good. I'm in remote learning with school. Going all right. Yeah, I give myself probably a 7 or an 8.
Good on you. Fantastic. It's great that you're here, Maddie.
Mads is also, she doesn't mind the remote learning, but she probably enjoys it more than normal school because she can do her own thing around the farm. Yep. But she's also in the netball academy, so she has some Zoom sessions with that, which is nice to look forward to. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Great. Which netball academy is that, Maddie?
Talent one. Netball Victoria Talent Academy.
Netball Victoria Talent ID, yep. Oh, well done. Good.
What position do you play, Maddie?
Goals and mid-court.
Are you trying to recruit Brooke?
Lee, I was going to say, Lee and Brooke, stay away. It's my gig.
Hey,
far away, Brooke.
Back, last question for you. What are you missing the most about being able to play your netball?
Probably the social side of things.
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, hang in there. Rowena, you're next on my list.
Hello. Well, as I was saying before, I've had a great day. So remote learning is better this time round. My oldest daughter's 17 and she's doing BCE subjects. So this time it's a bit more structured and a less, way less stressful. So they actually sit in each of their classes and are, doing it that way, which is fantastic. Bit more accountability there. And I've got a little preppy and a kindergarten kid. And I run my own green cleaning business. So I've only got 4 hours of work each week now due to COVID, which is quite tricky when, and I don't get any support from the government or anything for that. So it's just, it is what it is. My dad's super duper sick as well. So struggling with not being able to see him. Yeah, I'm actually shit today.
Thanks, Rowena. I wish we could give you a hug. Virtual hugs coming your way, and similar to Lee, thanks for being open and vulnerable with us and willing to share your story. Thoughts with you, and hope your dad can have some better days. Yeah.
And for those that don't know, if you cry, I cry. Brooke knows this very well.
Yeah, and then if he cries, I usually cry as well. So,
yeah, good start.
Yeah, and thanks for being here. It's obviously a really challenging time for you. I can't imagine how you're going with the remote learning with such a big age gap and 3 kids and supporting kinder and little ones as challenging in itself. So great job, you. Well done.
Yeah, and this might be a great 2 hours to take your mind off all of that sort of stuff and put yourself into a different space, I hope.
And that sunshine looks beautiful behind you, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. It's gorgeous.
So, Shanae. Oh, there you are.
Things going not too bad. I'm getting pretty smashed with uni at the moment, but that gives me something to do. Just trying to do 2 placements at once is getting a bit hard trying to fit everything in, but we're getting there.
Good job. Where are your placements?
They're all online over Zoom. So,
really?
Yeah, just got to find time to try and fit everything in, which is a bit hard, but we'll get there.
Great job. Good
We
luck.
were actually just in a session before where with Vic Health, and they were talking about, or someone from a state sporting association brought up the issue around student placements and mentoring and that sort of thing at the moment are obviously not occurring, and is there going to be a gap potentially in the sport and rec sector or any sector, I suppose, you know, around not being able to provide those opportunities. Where's the next lot of our workforce coming from? So it's an interesting one to, you know, to try and navigate. Sue Cormack, how are you?
Oh, I'm okay, thank you. I feel like I'm a bit of a leak as Lee and Rowena's books, actually. I'm sort of down on work, so I've got my own business, and so a lot of that work's interstate, so that all came to a very sudden beginning or end. Unlike you girls, we actually pulled my father out of hospital. Just couldn't stand to see him, and he was in his final days. And he's come home 6 weeks later. He's done his tax and enjoying all his finest whiskey. So our biggest concern is that all the Glenfiddich will be gone by the time he finally actually does take his marching orders. So I really do empathise with both of you girls. It's a really tough time, but hang in there.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sue.
Yeah.
Hey, Emily, I'm going to jump back up to you. And I just chucked you on mute because I think I was getting a bit of feedback from your end. But so just take yourself off mute if you're ready to have a chat. Maybe I need to take you off mute, do I?
Maybe I can. Have I got that sort of control?
I thought I
Gosh.
did. Can you? There she goes. It's good.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay.
That's you. There you are.
Hi, apologies everyone for my tardiness. I have 2 kids at home today, so the noise you can hear in the background is them watching Lightning McQueen for about the 50th time.
Great movie.
So I'm doing okay. Have had a tough 2 weeks. Work-wise, work has actually been my saviour. Work has been fantastic. I'm very fortunate. My BSA work is very, very busy, and I am doing some pharmacy work as well, which is still working from home. So very appreciative to have those, but did have a very dear friend's teenage son suicide 2 weeks ago, and we had the memorial yesterday. So it's been a huge 2 weeks, and a lot of anger and a lot of feelings about just letting our young people down. And I know for those who are also working in the Geelong region, I am tired of hearing that news, and that it's got a personal connection. I'm really tired of hearing that news. So my boss, Cam, has been amazing. I think he's had me on the end of the phone a lot. But yeah, I've enjoyed the sunshine today and looking forward to this afternoon. So I guess part of my role with what I do at BSA is I'm really on a mission to help these kids. I hate calling them kids, but a lot of who I work with are. So it's a big 2 weeks, but I'm determined to find positive.
Great job, Emily. Yeah.
Thanks, Em.
Well, I didn't have any idea, so thank you for letting us know as well, so that we can try and support you the best way that we can.
Thank you. Thanks, Fee.
Have we missed anyone, Brooke? Did we get Maddie T?
Yeah, I've just joined. Sorry.
Beautiful. You're all right. Run, but you can't hide, Maddie. Would you like to go up next?
What are we doing? Sorry.
We're just saying how we're going. 1 to 10, how you're feeling, 1 being low, 10 being good, and just maybe how your last week has been.
Awesome. I'm happy to go. I'm feeling probably a 7, I'll say. I think I'm doing pretty well. I think COVID's impacted me a lot less than other people, so I'm feeling blessed in that sense. I am starting a new role in work on Monday.
What's that?
So at the moment, I'm working in family violence, high risk, and I'm moving into more of a medium risk from now on. So trying to close up and re-refer all my clients today, which has been a wild ride. But I'm looking forward to working more therapeutically with clients that aren't as much in crisis. So that's something to look forward to.
Great. Fantastic. And you're in Wodonga, aren't you?
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Well, all the best with the new job on Monday. Fantastic. All right. So I will share my screen. And as you know, that's always a bit of a risk, but let's see how we go. And Brookie, I might just rely on you for, nothing happened. All right. So
looks good.
What are you seeing my notes or my PowerPoint?
Seeing your PowerPoint, connecting you
Beautiful.
the front. Yep.
Great. And that's it. Okay. Fantastic. Yep. That is great. So today's session is going to be around governance within a leadership context. And it's going to, again, be an opportunity to reflect and share as much as we feel comfortable. An opportunity to hear from each other, and of course our special guest Sue, who's been very generous in coming along and also being here for the first hour, and I think that will be fantastic that Sue gets an idea of who everyone is and where you're all from. Please remember to engage in the conversation and raise your hand either physically in front of me or using the raise hand throughout. Sue is, I'll introduce Sue properly later, but Sue is a former school teacher. So she is very good at being interrupted and being able to stay on track. So you just engage as much as you can so that you get a lot out of this. So today's session, we've got we've had a bit of a check-in. For those who have done their 5-minute presentations, we will do those. Please don't feel pressured. If you haven't done yours, I'm hearing that obviously that people have had a really tough couple of weeks, so it's okay, and we can hold yours off until next session. We'll hear from Sue around leadership and governance, and then we're going to have a little bit of fun hopefully at the end and a follow-up and chat. So the call to action from the last session was to tell us your story. If we just go back, we had Shannon Lander speak to us about her personal brand. So this was your opportunity to condense. She had half an hour to discuss hers. You've got 5 minutes to tell us about your story, your personal brand. And you can take any way of presenting this. People will interpret it differently and present it differently because we're all different people, and that's what makes it all so special. And also, and I'd forgotten about this until Kim reminded me during the week, that I did ask that you go and ask for feedback from someone that you respect and work with, and maybe that you can either include in your 5-minute presentation a snippet of what they told you, or we can talk about that at the end of the session. So I'm going to unshare now. And then I don't know how we choose who goes first. So maybe if we just put a show of hands. Oh, you'd like to go first, Lee?
No. I had a question back with asking the feedback.
Sure.
Was there certain questions that we should ask? Do you know what I mean? Like that will prompt the response that we need to take away and to learn from. Is there sort of a couple of questions?
I can give you a couple of questions, but at a high level, it was to ask someone that you work with in a leadership capacity, so you being in the leadership capacity, and ask them for feedback on how you can improve, or some feedback on how they perceive you. And what we'll do at the end of this session as well, I've got a leadership self-assessment. So you might actually want to use that and take some questions out of that to present to the person that you have the discussion with. But it's all about being open to feedback and us understanding a little bit at a deeper level what we're like as leaders in the eyes of someone else.
Yeah. Thank you.
No worries. So anyone who has got their presentation ready to go, do you want to put your online hand up, the little orange one? And then I know at least who, I know Grace, you've got one. I know Kim, you've got one ready to go, but I don't know if anyone else has done theirs. Okay. Kim, you're the teacher, you're the assistant principal. Can I get you to go first, please?
Grace is a teacher too.
Yeah, she's not an AP yet.
No, well, actually, that's something I didn't put into mine. But anyway, okay. I know because Maddie told me she finished her homework a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, a couple of weeks ago, I think she did. She got in and did hers straight away.
I did notice that Maddie gets in straight away with this. Is my,
yeah.
Sorry.
And anyway, and then I said about the speech, and she goes, "What speech?" I went, "Oh, so she's not organised at all now." Anyway, a bit of my background. So I grew up in Rochester on the farm, and I had parents who were involved in sporting and community clubs. So Mum was more involved in sporting sort of things, a little bit, not much, just a bit of netball and things, and Dad was more involved in the likes of Apex and the show and stuff like that. So they had a bit of a community involvement though still. I really enjoy getting out on the farm a lot with Dad and working with him, and he was quite particular with how things had to be done. So if people, they do have workers working with them and things, and if someone didn't do it the right way, well, that was the end of them sort of thing. So I probably learnt to do things a certain way and the right way by Dad anyway. So in terms of expectations, they were quite high, I'd sort of say. We were, as kids, we played lots of sport and were reasonably successful, you'd sort of say, at sport when we did that. And I coached from when I got to year 7, I actually coached netball side sort of from being in year 7. So that was probably quite young when I think about what kids here are doing. And that was by myself. It wasn't with someone with me. So, which was probably a big step when I look back now. I went to university at Ballarat, or Kellogg's University, as some of our more mature staff members around here used to call it. They've now retired, but they called it Kellogg's University. I studied PE and maths, and I gained a position here in Charlton as a PE teacher. I have done 6 months over in Horsham, but then I came back again. So I'm married and I've got 3 teenage children. So one just turned 18. So he was lucky he turned 18 when he was allowed to have 10 at his party, which is way more than he'd be allowed to have now.
Yeah. And
he's been able to get special permission to get a licence. So he's just got his licence the other week. So that's a bit exciting in the COVID thing. And then I've got Maddie and then Elliot, who is, how old is he now? 18? 13. Yeah, 13. And in year 8. Yeah, so I've held lots of roles in clubs and at school. So from being like just a team captain to coaching, to being president, secretary, treasurer, and just committee people on tennis and netball clubs. And I've recently somehow or another got into cricket and been just from, I think it might have been Grace from showing interest at the clinic thing that we have, the camp that we have. I don't know how I got there, but anyway, I have. And I'm now junior vice president on the Wimmera Mallee Cricket Association committee, and with a role of leading or introducing girls cricket was my role last year. But I guess now it's probably leading girls cricket because we got it happening. And at school, I'm currently assistant principal, which was a role that I kind of fell into. So I came back from having the kids, like from maternity leave, and yeah, the position sort of came up and we looked around the school and what sort of things had to be done in it, and the staff that we had on board at the time, I was probably the best fit for the position. So it was a case of either I applied or we might get someone external and then lose someone that we perhaps really valued on staff. So so I ended up taking that position. You're shutting that door, Tara. Taking that position, and part of that now I'm F6 leader at the school. So we're at F12 school, and I coordinate the F6 area. I oversee it anyway. That's the way I look at it. I'm also our school-wide positive behaviour support team leader and numeracy coordinator. So I have a few hats, not just at school but out of school as well. Now, one of the things that you said about talking about, Fiona, was about what do I want to be famous for? Well, I've never really thought about being famous. So, however, I would like people to think of me as someone who brings out the best in them or in others, if that makes sense, and the environment around me. So that's probably what I most say. When I was filling out my little Miro board, I found it really difficult to pinpoint 2 leadership skills. I wasn't really sure what to go with. But I ended up with the 2 key strengths sort of thing, I suppose. I don't know. I was being a motivator, and methodical I thought was maybe an okay word to use for me. And I guess it stems from my values, because if I'm passionate about something, and I don't tend to volunteer for things if I'm not passionate about them, because that's a recipe for disaster. I tend to ooze enthusiasm and encouragement, which then motivates others, sort of thing. So I am quite methodical, so I tend to systematically work through things, and I'm quite particular in my workings. I'm a thinker, and I strategically plot things that I do. So I'm also very genuine, so what you see is what you get from me. I'm not very fake at all. I'm pretty honest. So what I like most about my leadership role, hope I'm going all right here, is
you're brilliant.
Is achieving as a team, okay, and making a difference. In club roles, I love it when the committee work together to make projects come to fruition. In coaching, of course, we always strive for the ultimate goal of winning, but that's not always what you can do. I've actually been coaching the A grade side here for a few years, where we've had, well, Maddie was, 14 or something in it at one stage, and we had a couple of her age in there, and everyone else wasn't very old either. So we've had a development, but we've always had little goals. So it was just we had little targets to reach and things like that. And there's no better feeling of sharing that success with others. So in school, with remote learning, the F6 team was seen as really successful in how they worked together through the first round, as I call it. We've got boxing rounds here of remote learning, talking boxing terms. And of course, I love to think that I'm making a positive difference. I love to see improvement in the environment, the skill, the knowledge and the confidence of those around me. The video I posted on the Facebook page was very much what I believe. So leader guides, but the group achieves. And in terms of the feedback that so far, I actually shared that video with my staff, and the feedback that I got back was that, yes, you are a we person, not a me person. So, and I said, good, just tell me if I turn around and become a me person, because I don't like that and I don't want to be that. So, so that's the feedback I've received, but I will go into that sort of thing. So that's probably about it, if that's okay.
That is absolutely fantastic. Well done. And thank you for taking us on the whole journey of getting to understand where you've come from. And I'm thinking that the being methodical has probably come from your dad in, doing things his way and the right way.
Yeah.
And I love hearing about people and their stories. And it's fantastic. And how brave of you to ask the team about some feedback. So you must have been fairly confident that they were going to be constructive at least.
Yeah, we have a good little, pretty proud of the team that I have over here in the F6. So we work together pretty well. So
thank you so much.
The case when I started with them. So it's a good thing. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thanks, Kim. That is great. Maddie, do you want to go next?
She's not very organised. Rightio. So I started up with. So where do you?
I've grown up in Charlton for my life. So being 15 years old, I like getting around the farm and learning new things and helping out Dad. That's it.
So you only go to school here? That's what you do?
I've only been to school at Charlton College for right through till year 10 at the moment.
Mm-hmm. You've had lots of sport academies and stuff.
Play a lot of sport and like to get involved in the clubs and stuff, and I've been in higher levels of netball, like in academies and stuff, and played for the Wimmera Mallee for
state titles.
State titles.
Oh wow, that's fantastic.
You're coaching at the minute.
Oh yeah. I'm assistant coach for the Charlton under 13 netball team at the moment, and we're doing it virtually at the moment through Zoom.
So you've been taking those sessions.
Yeah. How are you doing that, Maddie? Like, is it once a week you just jump online?
We've started twice a week. We just started Tuesday, and we've done one Tuesday and one Thursday just to keep them involved.
That's brilliant. And how are they all coming along? Are they all engaging in it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Good job. And is coaching what you'd like to do one day?
Maybe, yeah.
Or is it just because your mum makes you?
Oh, I don't make her, no. No, she wanted to do it. So
Good on you.
Something she wanted to do. And
you would have so much to share.
Go. Cricket.
Oh, yeah. I was the captain for the Wimmera Mallee girls cricket team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we had a bit of success over there, so yeah.
What would you choose between the two sports if you had to?
Probably cricket.
Good on you. Well, you'll probably get paid more if you're really good at cricket.
True. Yeah.
What else do I have to say?
That's probably about it, is it? What else you got on there? She's found her board. She couldn't find her board before.
Ah, good. I think, and Maddie's been one of the first ones to have a go at all of this online stuff. So
I think she typed over yours though, Fiona, didn't she?
That's fine. I did actually see that, but that's all right. Mine was just a demo model, so that's good.
She came to me bragging about it. I said, you've typed over Fiona's.
I did think, oh, my goals have changed in the last. Hey, I'm more than happy to go back to being 15 years of age any day. That is great. You've saved me. Maddie, did you have anything more that you wanted to share? No. What do you want to be famous for, Maddie?
Sharing with others like past experiences and stuff like to benefit them.
Brilliant. Oh, those lucky under 13s. That is great. Thanks, Maddie. Thanks for really thinking about that. That's awesome, and sharing that. That's I've really enjoyed that. So thank you, and thank you for the Miro board update. That's awesome. Grace, we might move on to you next.
Are you the one with the PowerPoint, Grace?
Yep. Yeah, I'll see if I can share this.
I think I can give you permission somewhere.
Is that working?
Yep. Something's happening.
All right. I guess I put into a PowerPoint because talking about yourself is always something that's I find extremely difficult. So it took me a long time to be able to sort of sit back and reflect on all this.
Good.
So I guess to start off, I live in Terang down Warrnambool Way. I teach at Camperdown College, where I've been there for, I think this is my 3rd year. I teach for primary and secondary, maths and PE.
And I've been heavily involved in sport from since I could play. Mum and Dad were heavily involved in footy netball clubs, and I think I just followed suit. Mum was treasurer one year, and I decided to do a traineeship through the club because I was there all the time anyway. So I grew up on a dairy farm in Borken, which is a bit of a nothing place, but it's home as such. I'm 24 and feel like I've still got a hell of a lot to learn, but so this will be me. So what will I be famous for? I started off with looking at like the different hats I wear. So at the minute, I'm a teacher and sports coordinator at Camperdown College. I coach the Western Waves under 14 girls at the state championships / youth Premier League for the last 6 years, I think. I've just taken on coach of Pomboneet Cricket Club. They're starting a women's team this year, so I've taken the reins there, and hopefully we can further promote that. I'm on the Western Waves regional board. I've been on there for the last 5 years, I think, as the female delegate and female development officer for cricket in the region. And as of a meeting last night, we're starting a subcommittee for female cricket, which heads up Kim and Maddie. You're probably going to be on it. And the last 2 years, I've also coached Kalora Nurit's under 15 netball side. So, which was also challenging given the COVID times, but we managed to get a few trainings in here and there. What have I got next? So I guess my personal brand, this was quite difficult to think about how I want to be seen and remembered and what sort of words and qualities to hopefully describe me as a coach. So I sort of put together a list of what I would ideally like to be seen as, but wasn't really sure if that was actually how I sort of portrayed that image. So the feedback that I went with was that I sent, given the times, a Snapchat to all the girls that I coach and sort of asked if they had to describe me as a coach, what words would they use? And I guess from my perspective, it was really nice to hear that these were the words that they come up with as well, which sort of reinforced that I wasn't completely on the wrong track. And that's a nice little backdrop in Dunkeld, one of the best cricket grounds around. Then I started thinking about what do I value as a coach. So I guess a lot of that rapport and relationships are at the top of my list, that I sort of feel that if I can develop those relationships through communication and all that, that the success comes after that. If you create that environment that people want to be in, that's when, the fun and enjoyment turns into success on the field. And I guess I'm all about taking opportunities that come your way and giving everything a go, and you never know what's around the corner. And obviously reinforce the sportsmanship side of things. And I guess one of the things I really love is the friendships that you make in sport and the people you meet along the way and how that sticks with you for life. And lastly, sort of what motivates me. There's a list there, but giving back to cricket, sort of the main thing. That I represented the Western Waves for 5 or 6 years at different age groups, and the friends I made along the way, and it just was such an awesome experience that I wanted to contribute back and give something to these young girls coming through now. And I think it's just awesome to see, even over the last 5 and 6 years, the difference in our region in girls cricket, that we're getting designated girls leagues, that we're going to have a subcommittee. There's just so much going on that it's really exciting. And I just like to think that when I look back, that I've had something to do with it, and, put my little piece in the puzzle, that I can feel like I'm making a difference in the whole scheme of things just by sort of being along for the ride.
That's fantastic. That is brilliant. So, awesome job. Well done. And amazing presentation. And, you did very well. I know what it's like. It's nice to have that PowerPoint just to sort of try and take a little bit of the focus, but you did really well talking about yourself, so you should be proud of yourself there. And how enlightened I feel about cricket in your region. Like it's obviously just going gangbusters.
Yeah, it's been quite exciting to see, and people like Kim and Maddie sort of being forced to join and jump on board. But seeing what they've done up in the Wimmera Way is really exciting. We were just talking about it at a regional board level yesterday, and how it's only getting bigger and bigger. And we're starting at there's a girls sort of country week, and how we're going to further develop that more and more.
Exciting. Oh, that is awesome. You might have to go on a travelling roadshow around the rest of Victoria to tell them how to do it all. That is
Fake
great.
it till you make it.
Yep, I know that well. Well done, Grace. That is so good. Does anyone have any questions of anyone who's presented so far? Emily, we're going to go to you next, just to give you the heads up.
I'd like to ask Grace something. Grace is obviously very passionate and you're very, very motivated. I mean, and I'm not picking out the negative, but I'd like to know what have been the challenges for you in achieving what you've achieved. It sounds like for someone who's 24, you've done an awful lot, and you've set up cricket in regional Victoria in an awesome way, and that is just huge. I'm just wondering, did you have some pain points? Did you ever get the pushbacks? And yeah, how you found that, or what you did to get around those?
Yeah, okay. Challenges, I guess, to start with, like when I got thrown into this regional board position, like I was the only female and I think the only one under 50, so it was very challenging, sort of those.
And your point.
Meetings. No, but it's completely, they sort of probably disregarded my opinion early on, and sort of, I guess I had to back myself to know that what I was saying was important. And I was really fortunate that I had some sort of mentors and all that along the way that, supported me to realise that I was doing the right thing. But that being said, in Southwest Cricket Association, sort of my local league, we've been trying to get something girls related, but the board and the people in charge have really given me nothing, and it's pretty much, if you do it, you need to do it on your own, which is sort of where these Pombanite teams sort of come from. They're currently actually going to be playing in the Colac League, but hopefully then it'll spark further interest that we'll be able to further develop in the Southwest area. But I guess, challenges have been, being female, being my age, and it's just sort of, I guess Mum's always said sort of growing up that I never really cared what other people thought, and I sort of did what I wanted to do, whether that was the sort of mainstream thing or not. And I guess that's a good quality to have nowadays, and hopefully I can stick with that as such.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well done.
Cheers.
So good.
What's your proudest moment being Grace?
Proudest moment?
In terms of leadership and coaching?
I'd say probably, Maddie, seeing your team win the YPL final state championship, because knowing that I'd sort of coached some of those girls and worked alongside you to see the journey and them to get that success, even though I wasn't in charge, I felt like I had a small little piece of that. But I think, the most exciting things is seeing those kids that fall in love with the game but then succeed as well, like the girls that I've coached that have represented Victoria or whatever else, but it's more their success is what I enjoy seeing more than my own personal success as such.
Awesome. And you had a big part to play, not a small part. Don't downplay it.
Oh, I don't know about that. You were the coach.
That's great. Fantastic. Emily, can we throw to you next?
Sure. So I have just done an elevator pitch, and I also have some feedback. So which would you like first?
I think the elevator pitch first, if that's okay.
Yep. All right. I'm a pharmacist by trade with graduate qualifications in exercise, sports science and education. I have 18 years experience in the field of health and wellbeing, and 4 years ago I made the conscious decision to channel my knowledge into athlete wellbeing. Sport has always been my life, which is how this decision came about. I started swimming, tennis, water polo, everything under the sun as a kid in Geelong. I was extremely lucky to be able to go to university in Sydney on a sports scholarship. So sport for me has opened many doors. I've been able to travel and I've made some great friends. I'm passionate about what I do, and I take pride in the genuine care that I give to my athletes and clients. I always see things through to the end. I've had my own ups and downs, and I hope that I'm helping those around me to be better equipped to navigate those times for themselves.
Brilliant.
Now,
so good.
My feedback. I asked my husband, which is...
Oh, that's going to be very honest. I'll
read you this one first, and then I'll give you the nice ones. So, this is from my husband, and yes, we're still married. Passionate and never does anything by half, which is good, but it's also very irritating, as her expectations of herself and those around her are always at 110%. Don't ever be late to reply to an email. She's the opposite of lazy, which can also make some, especially me, feel inadequate. She gets shit done and will always give her all to get done what needs to get done. She's always all in. I wish sometimes I had an off switch or at least an idle button to switch. So
that is. And I've only known you for a short amount of time, but I reckon, yeah.
I did laugh. I laughed when he sent that through.
That's great.
This is from Shanae, who does all our media for Barwon Sports Academy.
Yep.
This one's very lovely, so this one's nice. Em is someone I look to as a role model working in the sports industry. She's incredibly determined in the way she goes about things and resilient when facing what comes her way. Em goes above and beyond with all that she does. However, sometimes I think she pushes herself way too much. With that, she's someone I enjoy working with and being around, as I find it encourages myself to do better. And Cam's, which is probably the leveler. I like this is good. Oh, sorry, there's.
And so for everyone else's benefit, Cam is Emily's boss.
Yep, the CEO of the Barwon Sports Academy. Em is headstrong. You know where you stand, and a spade is a spade. She's extremely well organised, and if it's worth doing, you can be assured she'll do it properly. She'll always cross her T's and dot her I's. She is the definition of if you want something done, ask a busy person. We're working together on the application of a growth mindset so that she can take on feedback positively. That's definitely something she needs to keep working on. So, that was very good of Cam. So.
Yeah, that's great. And I think you did share with everyone how he'd sent you the book in the mail, is that right?
No, he was down in Torquay for a stand-up paddle, and I got home from kinder up, and there was the Julia Gillard book, which just made my day.
Yeah.
So it's been very supportive to be working with Cam.
Yeah. Oh, you're doing a good job, and it's very brave making that decision to change career direction as well. So, hats off to you.
Thanks.
Especially with 2 little boys.
Nutbags.
Did anyone else have a presentation that they wanted to share with us today?
I could probably go through mine if you'd like.
Yeah, sure.
Well, I'm from a tiny country regional town called Nil. So I grew up with 5 older brothers out in the farm. So right from a young age, I had to learn to communicate with not only people from my age, but because my eldest brother is 11 years older than me. So I learned to communicate with a huge age range of people, which is a good thing for me. So that makes things a bit easier for me. But growing up in a small town, I learnt really quickly how important community was and community involvement. And I especially learnt that from my mum, who was involved in a lot of sporting committees, everything to do with Nil. So I learnt pretty quickly that you just get in and help where you can, share your knowledge where you can, and all that. And growing up, I loved my sport. So I played quite a few different sports, and I always had someone there as a role model for me who would coach me and help me through so many things, and that helped me a lot, and that's really what motivates me to do all this, because I want to be that person for them. Even though being a female, I never really had that female role model, especially in cricket, because I was literally the only female who was playing at home, so I always had to look up to the boys. But I want to be that girl that is the role model for the younger kids growing up and stuff. And yeah, that's about it. I asked for feedback from a committee member who is on a lot of the same committees and stuff that I'm involved with.
Yep.
And they said that I was willing to take on any role or jobs that needed to be done or that I was given or stuff. And that I could work on my confidence to approach people, but once I knew the person, I was quite good at communicating. That's what I got.
And did you agree with that? Did you see that in yourself as well, Sinead? Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Well, we're going to all help you develop that skill to feel more confident in approaching people.
Thanks.
What a pack of go-getters. And how about the impact of parents that on everyone, that, you know, just that role modelling without even probably thinking about it when you were younger. It's not until you reflect that you realise that they've had such an impact on all of us. All right, so I don't want to rush anything, but I am mindful that I'd love to get into Sue's presentation. But if anyone else has a presentation they'd like to do today, you're more than welcome.
I'm happy to record mine and send it to you.
Yeah, sure. Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I've got it all done, but I might prefer to just do a little bit. Send it through. Is that all right?
Yeah, that absolutely it is. And then Rowena, we can talk about whether you want me to share that with everyone as a recording for the next session.
Cool.
But yeah,
one thing I do want to say. Yeah, cool. One thing I do want to mention though, like with my my little work team, I got them all to do like a leadership kind of colour test the other day, just to see what colours they were, and then what style of leadership or who they were, not just leadership, but in personality as well. It was really interesting to see everything that came back. So I'll send that to you too, and maybe we could put it on the Facebook.
Oh, yeah. Or group. Maybe we could do it in one of our sessions.
Yeah, it's really good. Anyway.
Yeah. Thanks, Rowena. Yeah. All right. Cool. I'll talk to you further. We'll schedule that in. That sounds really fun. Great. Now, I'm just going to... I was going to share, but I don't think there's any point in me sharing. I'm going to introduce you, Sue, without my notes. So we have Sue Cormack. Sue is by trade a phys ed and maths teacher originally.
I don't think I was too good at the maths.
And Sue has had a lot of experience in sport. We met 30 years ago when we were working in different modified sport programs for state sporting bodies. And then I had the pleasure of reconnecting with Sue when I started at Leisure Networks nearly 10 years ago. No, not that long, almost. Sue is a women's leadership workshop facilitator for Sport Australia. She has been a Vic Health board member. She's a consultant and runs her own consultancy now. And also is the coordinator of all of the women's football, and actually got women's football at her club, St Joseph's Football Club, which is a really successful and great club in the GFL, AFL Barwon, and got the women's football up and going. And because I haven't got my notes, I'm just trying to think whatever I've missed. And if you can add anyway, Sue, mother of 2 boys and wife of a professor. So she must be pretty smart. And Sue runs these programs all of the time, not necessarily online, has been doing them for about 10 years or so, Sue, with Sport Australia, and they're weekends away. So I'm sure that you might be interested when life gets back to whatever the new normal is, that you might be interested in going away and staying and doing a women's leadership program with Sue in the future. But for now, I will throw to you, Sue.
Thanks, Fee, and I will be sharing a screen. But first of all, could I just say that was so good to hear all your stories, and I feel like a bit of an imposter talking to you about leadership, because I feel like I'm surrounded by some very astute and ready-made leaders, and great to see some young leaders too. Sport's in really good hands, so well done. Go. So I will share my screen. Fee asked me to do a session with you on governance, and I thought to myself, really, on this Friday afternoon, could there be anything more boring? But so I thought I'd take a bit of a different approach, and that is, have you got the screen?
Yes. Yep.
I thought I'd take a bit of a different approach, and that is to give you a bit of a high level sort of nutshell around governance, and then if you've got particular things that you want to talk about or ask, we can have some group discussion once we're done. Then I thought I'd spend a little bit of time looking at the interplay between governance and leadership. It doesn't always coexist. I think we're seeing an American government where we're not seeing, one or the other, but it doesn't always coexist, but there is a really strong interplay, and they are inextricably linked. And I'm going to look at 5 lessons in particular. And then I wanted to give you 2 practical tools, and I've got a third that I've stumbled across actually today, which I really like, so I might have some time for that. Some really practical tools. One's around having a difficult conversation. The other is around decision making, and the other one is around gaining consensus when there's opposition. So, or at least having some conversations around consensus when there's opposition, and that's actually quite pertinent to me at the moment, because I'm working with some associations who aren't getting on particularly well in an attempt to try and unify them, and so there's been some interesting behaviours there. So if we just look at governance in a nutshell, these are the types of things that are involved in governance. And if I had to use one word to explain what governance is to you, it's stewardship. That is taking care of an entity or an organisation on behalf of its owners. In sport, if you're in a state sporting organisation, then your owners are probably your clubs. If you're in a large corporation, your owners are your shareholders. But in most clubs, your owners are your members, and they're equal shareholders. They should be considered as equal shareholders. It doesn't always work like that, and I know that Fee's been putting a lot of work into gender equity so that the female members in clubs can feel like equal shareholders. I know some clubs, football clubs, put a lot of time and effort into their 2 o'clock team and forget about everything else. But it's really important that as a committee and as a governance structure, you're considering the whole club and every single member as an equal shareholder. When we talk about the stewardship and we talk about shareholders, you've got a whole lot of internal. Obviously, your members are your number one, because they're the people who own the entity. They're the people who vote and elect you into the role to take care of the organisation on their behalf. But there's a whole lot of other stakeholders, of course, as well. You might have staff, you've got volunteers, you've got your coaches, you've got externally, you've got your neighbours, you don't want to put them off. You've got local government, you've got your funders, you've got you know, a whole range of groups that you really are responsible for making sure that those relationships are positive and are going to help take that entity into better outcomes. With relation to stewardship, I usually try and think of it as 3 different things, so try and group it in 3 different ways. And unfortunately, I think some of them get missed because we spend too much time as committees looking at the operations of a club, and we forget about some of the leadership. So the 3 things that go into a governance structure are lead, care and comply. And unfortunately, sometimes I think it's the lead that actually gets missed off because we don't have enough time to actually sit down and stargaze and think strategically and actually think forward because we're so busy dealing with the now. So if that's something that you can bring to your committees or the organisations that you're on, the lead part is really important. And that's really about, you know, planning for the future, looking at what the next outcome or improvements could be, making sure that you're ready for the next adaptation. And we saw COVID, what that did, you know, what's sport going to look like when we come out of COVID, and can we get ourselves somewhat ready? Can we improve the way we do things? I know for us, we're meeting at our sponsors, well, we were meeting at our sponsors' facilities as opposed to meeting at the club, which is something we will continue once we're all out of lockdown. So are there things that we could adapt? And so that's the lead part of it. Then you've got the care, and then the care is really, you know, taking care of your members, taking care of your people, taking care of the reputation of your organisation, which is obviously very important, taking care of your culture and making sure that it's a culture that that people want to come to, taking care of your young people. And, you know, I certainly did, when Emily was talking about young people and some of the issues that we've had a number of people very close to our club in that boat this year. And so we have a very strong well-being and care. We're a club that cares, and we have a very strong care factor in our club. And the comply, well, that's the kind of the dirty word. That's the one that we have to meet all our obligations. Obviously, the law. There's obviously a number of laws that are relevant to us. Information privacy is a big one. Child safety has been obviously very close to us all more recently, but also the bylaws and the policies and the obligations that our leagues and our state bodies give us, as well as, you know, the Constitution itself. So, you know, and if people aren't really familiar with what a constitution is, that's probably your starter document, because that's the contract between you as a committee and the owners or the members, and it tells them how you're going to act as a committee, how you're going to run their business for them, and, you know, the sorts of things that would happen if you got yourself into a situation where you had to close down the business. So there's a bit to governance. It's sort of how long is a piece of string. But one of the things I would say, and we've heard from a number of you that you're already on committees and boards, that those of you who aren't, not to shy away and think that, oh, I'm not very financially minded, or I don't really understand risk, or I don't understand the law, because you're not expected to. Really good committees would bring together those skill sets, which makes it actually one of the best learning environments that you could possibly be in. And just if it makes you feel any better, I probably learnt the most from the board where I had the least input, and that was the early years of Vic Health. When I was appointed to the Vic Health board by the Health Minister, you know, I just thought, oh my God, and looked at the people's names on the board, and they all had letters behind their names, you know, OAM and PhD, and, you know, I thought, here I am, a country person with community mindedness. What do I have to offer? And I suppose that's the nutshell of it, that you kind of get a sense of what it is that you're there for. And you don't need to go over and above that. You know, I didn't need to have any know-how about financial management because they had, you know, senior accountants around the table and senior lawyers and people who knew so much more than I did. So it's no point pretending what you're not. More so just get really sure about what it is that you do understand and you can offer to the conversation. Obviously, I'm encouraging you as well because we need more women on boards and committees. It has a completely different feel in an organisation when there's a blended committee. It's much more balanced, and women and girls are thought of much more readily when there are women and girls on committees. So I did feel for, I think it was Grace who was on the committee on her own, and well done. That's very brave, and hopefully you can encourage other women to get onto that committee. You'll also know that, you know, if we have women in leadership, then the aspirations of young girls rise, and we see that in even third world countries where they've had a prime minister as a woman, and the educational aspirations of girls in those countries during that reign improve dramatically. So it's a really important space for us to be in, and I encourage you to take a risk and be bold and put yourself into some spaces and learn from the experience, and also it sounds like many of you want to contribute as well. If we start to think about the interplay between sort of leadership and governance, the first one for me would be that getting involved in a committee or a governance space is a really great place to enact leadership. If you're thinking about leadership as being an influencer or supporting others towards better outcomes for an organisation or for a group, then being at the decision-making table is a really great space to be able to enact that leadership. And certainly in my own football club, the way that the committee behaves, because it's got females on it, has certainly improved over the years and through great leadership from a really good president. The other thing is that good governance principles, there's 17 principles of good governance, and if you actually had a look at them, they're all really worthy aspirations for individual leaders. So accountability, honesty, competence, goals, transparency, they're all things that we would like to think of ourselves, inclusion, participation, they're all things that we would like to think of ourselves as leaders, and they are all wrapped up into governance. So really, when you think about it, governance is, if you do it well, is a group leadership journey where people are, or where an entity is exhibiting all these very ethical behaviours, and also, you know, trying to think strategically and creatively as well. And the third interplay is you actually need good leaders in governance, and it doesn't always happen. So leadership is really about forward thinking. It's not just about managing the now. It's not just about getting through this season. It's about creatively adapting and innovating and creating things that are new, maybe disturbing some of what's happening now, asking those great leadership questions of what if, you know, why not, how could, those curiosity questions. And so if you don't have leadership on committees, and I'm working with a committee at the moment, which I would question the leadership on the committee, those committees become very quickly old school, and they get left behind very, very quickly because we're in such a state of fast and rapid change. So what I'd like to do quickly is just to see who of you are currently on a committee or a board, and I can't see you all. Do I have to get rid of my screen to be able to see everyone?
Probably it will be easier.
Well, you can see everyone, Fee?
No, I can't either.
Okay.
No.
So what I'll do is
But you know what we could do, Sue, is use the chat.
Okay.
So we could if we get on the chat and it comes down for me on the right-hand side.
Yep.
And do people just want to be able to put up their hand or give an emoji if they're on a committee? Or maybe put their name and then an emoji?
Yep. So if you are currently sitting on a committee or a board, if you just want to just give Fee the heads up. And then what I'd like to do is I'd like to hear from some of you who are on a board or a committee that you think operates really well. And perhaps if you could shed some light on why do you think it operates well? You know, what are some of the ingredients to this sort of cohesive governance? So I can't see what you're seeing.
Sure.
Steve. Is there anyone that'd like to
does someone want to just jump in, or I can select? I know you're all itching too. Lee, you're very experienced.
Yeah. Okay. So I've had a few different roles, and I probably at the moment I sit at a club level, but I'm also a netball manager for a league that has been going for a very, 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 very long time with, I think the president is been in his position for over 32 years. So it is quite a different dynamic coming into it. Yeah, I'm probably the youngest there, and I mean I'm 48. So, but probably and the people on the executive have been there for 15, 20 years plus. They work very, very well. Everyone knows their roles and what their strengths are. However, I think I've mentioned this to you, Fiona. There needs to be a little bit more future thought about change management, I think, and who's going to take the baton next and things like that. And one of the reasons I'm doing this is because I probably want to put my hand up to actually help with that change. But yeah, as far as they do respect women and stuff like that. However, I have been involved where you're just netball, and you know that's been quite challenging. And hearing the girls talk about their cricket experience, I remember when the GFL started, I think my club I was involved at the time was the one that voted no against netball, and it was myself. I think I was the first president and the secretary, and we had to put a hand out all the time. I don't think that there's a lot of aspects to lot of committees that I've sort of been on. So my netball subcommittee works really, really well. We're very tight. Everyone knows what their roles are. We can challenge each other. We can sort of say, no, I don't think that'll work. However, then you go slide over and you go sit on the main committee and you're just the netball people sort of thing. So I don't know if that helps anyone's type of thing, but so currently, yes, I sit in a few different spaces that operate very differently to each other as far as committees work.
Yeah, and I think sometimes though when you get one set, so you say you've got a lot of people who are from the same demographic on a board, you miss out on a lot. And so, one of the things you probably miss out on a lot is technological advancement.
Correct.
We get a lot from our younger committee members.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else who's on a committee that works well and that they can sort of pinpoint what is going well? Is there anyone else?
I'm just going through the list here. Kim, I reckon you'd have a pretty highly functioning committee.
Yeah, so I was just listening to the story there, please. Because I've gone back, I've been on the netball committee all the time, but I've taken on a position as an executive position. I'm a secretary again, which I was kind of hoping I could get out of because I feel like I've been there for so long. But It's trying to encourage others to take on the positions has been our challenge in our club, if that makes sense. There's sort of been a real lull. We had a group of girls went through and their parents weren't involved at all, if that makes sense. So it made it really hard for that succession planning. You couldn't get them involved. You were lucky to get them to the game, let alone anywhere else. So, but there's a bit of a crew that we've acknowledged are starting to come through again. So we've got them onto the committee, and I've gone back in as secretary, and I'm probably more there as a bit of a, I know the secretary almost controls your club in a way because they've got a good idea what the finger on the pulse, but it's trying to build capacity in all the other members and things like that and giving them roles and which has built their understanding. And actually, even though we haven't actually played a game this year, their understanding, there's some of them have really, their capacity has really developed this year, so that's been really good. But we do share, and decisions are like when it came to, it was a very good committee when it came to returning to training or return to play, whatever it was called after the first sort of COVID closure. The committee were really on board and all got behind one another, and everyone was willing to take on the responsibility of being, they were COVID supervisors, we called them court supervisors. So we did have a good committee that way, so it was about sharing that role. And I don't know, and I suppose we've got people who are good with money. We've got a good mix of ages on there, so that's been quite good. I suppose that's a good thing. I don't know what else.
Well, I think a couple of things that you said, I think maybe this COVID might get us to think a bit more creatively around how we run a committee or a board. One is around online interaction. So the capacity for people to come together like this and to do it often and in short doses, maybe a really different style of how we govern or run committees, and that might be more appealing to some people. We do seem to have some tradition around, we run our committee meetings at night. Well, that's not going to suit young mothers. We committee meetings, shouldn't we be running them when we drop the kids off to training? Should we be running them then? So it probably, what this period does is gives us a little bit of license to start thinking a bit more creatively and what are some of the barriers to people to even putting their hands up in the first place. And the other thing is looking at external people. How often and do clubs only look internally for their committee members, whereas we've had great luck finding some really terrific professionals who didn't even really know the club but who'd moved into Geelong and wanted to meet some people, and so they've come on board through an external advertisement around some skill sets that we needed, as opposed to people who necessarily need the club. So thank you for that. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Lee, the other one that I've been on is the cricket. Sorry, I'm being a pain now. Cricket, and we've got with the girls and with the women Mallee, because our area is quite a large, which Grace will be well aware of too, a large area to cover. And so when you went for meetings, like I had to drive an hour and a half to go to the meetings and things like that. So now that we're online, I think that's the way it's going to stay. So that'll be so much better than having to do that. It was nighttime meetings, and so you were driving in the dark, and so that's a real positive. It's like there's been some real positives come out of COVID, that's for sure.
I think so. Yeah, I think so, and I think it'll get us certainly get us thinking more creatively, and it certainly enables our use of technology as well. So, which is great. So when I've kind of got 5 lessons that I wanted to share with you. The first one is around the people and the fact that good governance and leadership is not about me. And I think we've already heard a few people say, it's not a me thing. It's not an I thing. But with governance, you really need the right people who are there for the right reason. Very dangerous when people come onto a committee to try and, I suppose, roll in with their own agendas and to build up a particular part of the club. And other committee members have to be very cognizant of that. When they see that happening, there has to be some writing of that, because that is not good, what we call fiduciary responsibility, and that's looking after the interests of others as opposed to running your own agendas. With respect to leadership, again, it's not about me, it's not about my opinion, there's nothing about the ego, it's not about my agenda, it's actually about you. And I think something that I work with managers around is because it's really hard to get that balance between the doing and the people. So getting the task done, but also looking after the people. So I often sort of try and sort of use the analogy as to how you're judged. So as a manager, your performance is how you're judged. So you're judged on your performance, whether you meet your budget, whether you meet your KPIs, what's your work capacity, what's your workflow, do you get things done on time? It's all about your performance. Whereas leaders, they're actually measured by the performance of their team. And so really, when you think about it, as a leader, you should be putting a lot more time into your people than into your task. And even at the moment, probably even more, because if people are working remotely, they're going to need much more of you than they would if they were in an office and having incidental opportunities with you. And then governance, we take it to another level. Your governance is going to be measured by the performance of your organisation. So management is you, or coordination, or whatever you do. So you're running the show, will judge you on how well you do that. Leadership will judge you on how well your team goes, and of course governance will judge you on where your organisation is. So your committee or your board doesn't run the club. It actually sets up the systems and the circumstances and the environment and the teams who will run the club well and in line with the visions and the missions established by the committee. I like the analogy also, because I think it also talks to us a little bit about how leadership has changed over the years, that we've gone from leaders as heroes to leaders as hosts. And if you think about that in the context that you're being judged by the performance of other people, the hero was, a really old style of leadership where, I'll shine the light, I know the answers, I've got the info, I'll take you to where you should be going. Whereas modern and contemporary leadership is much more about leaders providing the circumstances and the environments and the support and building the capability of others so that they achieve the best that they can and that they actually drive the improved outcomes for the organisation. So in my role as female director at St Joseph's, it is true that I did initiate female footy, but I didn't do female footy. Basically, all I did was I knew what I wanted it to look like and worked with others to see what they wanted it to look like. And we built a fabulous team who basically they do the work. My role is simply to make sure that we keep ahead of the game and that we keep setting ourselves goals and that we keep establishing new visions. But they do the work. They basically lead it. The second lesson, I've got a little thing on my presenter. There we go. The second lesson is, can I move it? Sorry. Don't know if I can, it says.
Okay, hang on a second, hang on. Oh, yeah, something's happening now, Sue.
That's all right. The second lesson is about you and your behaviour. The lesson is that your behaviour defines you, not only as an individual sitting around a committee table. A team is defined by their behaviours on the field. Your club is defined by those consistent behaviours that people experience, and your committee is defined by their behaviours around the table. So it's really important, those consistent behaviours, we start thinking about them as your visible culture. And so if you have a committee culture that's toxic and argumentative and meetings go too long and people talk too much and people talk out of turn, if you have a committee culture like that, guess what? No one wants to come on it. If they look in and see, you know, a lot of people who are overworked, doing too much, not delegating well, and who are always complaining about how busy they are, no one's going to want to come in. So it's really important that your behaviour around the board table, but also your individual behaviour, role models what you want to see in terms of culture. So I just thought I'd show you, to break it up a little bit, something that's a little bit fun. It's a 3-minute video. I hope you've got the bandwidth for it. But I just want you to sort of earmark some of the behaviours of this crew and see if there's any that you don't like.
I was on this date the other night, and we were at this restaurant.
All right, guys, you guys ready to get started?
Hang on a second.
Trip, you ready to get started, buddy?
Okay. Hey, you guys, we're all here. We should start.
All right, thanks for coming, guys. I just wanted to take a few minutes and talk about some ideas for the marketing strategy this year. So if you got one, just throw it out there. I'd love to hear.
Yeah, how long is this meeting supposed to last? The schedule wasn't exactly clear.
Should be out of here in 30.
Is that approximate or?
Hey guys, sorry I'm a couple minutes late. I got caught in traffic.
7 minutes, actually.
What's that?
Couple is 2.
So what we're doing is we're just coming up with some ideas for our new marketing strategy.
Sure.
So, anyone?
I think we should implement Pinterest.
Ooh, that's a fun idea.
What about a publicity event in the park?
Interesting. But how are you going to plan around the weather? What if it rains?
So we'll party in the rain.
Okay, just want to emphasize there's no bad ideas here. We're just brainstorming. So.
Yeah, I'm just really thinking it'll be a huge waste of money to try to plan around the weather.
Yeah, okay, we get your concerns. Nancy, thank you.
Okay, anyone else have an idea? Ephraim?
I've always wanted to see rain fall down all at once in a big splash instead of small drops over time. I mean, think how it could impact the irrigation system.
Okay. Terry?
Well, I have an idea from my previous job that I had last year. Let me take that back a little bit. I have this wonderful idea, but it doesn't really make sense unless I just take it back a second and bring it forward together. It was like 3 weeks ago that I remember he said something that I couldn't understand.
Hold on a second, Terry. Hold on. Thanks for pointing. Here's what we need to do, okay? Lauren, you got this? We do a video submission contest on YouTube.
Oh, okay. That's been done.
It'll be on Facebook, it'll be on Pinterest, it'll be on Twitter.
If we do something with technology, we lose the senior demographic.
So you guys want to see an example?
Should we be moving on to the next topic? I mean, it's already 1:15.
It's 1:15. That's funny.
Who knows how to put this on the screen? Up there, because you're not going to, I want you to see all the details. If we have a cable, does this cable work?
I think that's power.
I don't know if on the there's an HDMI.
That cord's not going to be long enough.
In the back,
does that remote go to
like
the
2 or 3,
TV?
like HDMI 1.
Plenty of time,
HDMI
guys.
2,
No rush.
HDMI
This isn't
3,
working.
I got a green marker.
Call the IT guy.
Wait,
there's
turn
also,
what off and back on?
What do you call it? S-video.
Hello?
Okay, I've got it working.
Hit play.
Okay, now imagine hundreds of those floating around the web. Actually, do you want to watch it one more time?
No, please.
Trip, I think you're onto something with this idea. I really like it. Carol, did you get that down?
Yep, got it.
Sorry, what is C-test up sub YT pros?
Well, I'm abbreviating to make room for all these great ideas. Contest, uploading it to YouTube, funniest, and you get a prize.
Wait, where are the other ideas?
And time.
Wait, where y'all going? We still have 100% of the things to accomplish.
So some fairly ordinary behaviours in there, I'm hoping, but if people did have a giggle because they relate to others in their and around their committee table, then it's time to have some leadership in your around your committee table, because you know, really, if it's run well, your committees can be so much more effective. As a leader, you've got a few roles to play. You want to role model the behaviours that you want to see, both within your committee and outside of the committee room. You want to influence others, potentially, if you haven't got great behaviour around the committee, how can you influence others to start having those conversations about, you know, can't we start to work better together, finishing on time? Are there people that just take way too much airtime? So are there ways that you can influence that, the establishment of some behavioural frameworks for your committee? I know we've got a charter which clearly sort of spells out how we do our business around the table. And the other thing is you need to be prepared to be courageous enough to call out behaviours if they don't fit with the values that you'd like to see around the table. And, you know, more recently I was at an association meeting where one member of the association mimicked another member of the association, which was, I just thought was completely disrespectful. So I just had to call it and say, look, I don't feel comfortable with that behaviour. And it was a senior male, and he apologised, which was the right behaviour post that. So I think we really do need to firstly be self-aware of our own behaviours so that we're able to model the desired ones. And some of the things I think we need to be aware of around the committee table are, do I speak too much? Do I just want to be heard, or do I really have something worthy to say? Am I the right person to give the opinion, or would I be better spending my time asking a question of someone who may be in a better place to answer that question? If someone disagrees with me, do I actually listen, and do I listen actively? And so I like to think about 3 words when someone disagrees is tell me more. You know, tell me more about how you have come to that position. Tell me more about what you mean there. Tell me more, so that you get the whole picture and don't let your brain turn off just because someone's not agreeing with you. Am I respectful when I'm in dispute? Because we will be in opposition. We're not always going to agree, but can we keep it respectful in any case? And can I avoid taking disagreement personally? Do I go home and then have to drink, you know, 3 extra glasses of wine, or do I am I able just to know that that's human nature for us not to necessarily agree? As leaders, I think one of the things we can do is we can actually call out behaviours, but sometimes it's helpful if you've already got a language or a framework that helps people to understand or have some clarity around the behaviours that you seek. At our club, you will see an insignia everywhere. It's TJW, it's on every piece of clothing, it's on every scoreboard, it's on every memorabilia board. TJW, the Joey's Way, is a definition of how we want to be seen. And by having that language, what it does is it enables people to give that fast feedback. So we often see, you know, even our under 12 group coming into the huddle at halftime saying, hey, that was really good to see, that was really the Joey's way. Or we have an under 18 girl who spoke back at an umpire, and very quickly the captain ran over and said, hey, no, that's not the Joey's way. So having that sort of shared language is a great starting point, and that's something that as leaders on your committee, if you haven't got something like that, it's always really, really helpful, because then you can give the feedback in situ. If things get a little bit left undone and you find that you really have to have a conversation with people, hands up if you find some of these conversations quite difficult. And if there are no hands showing, then I'll happily give you the screen and you can take it from here, because I personally don't think anyone finds difficult conversations easy to have. This is a model, however, that I've over the years developed. No copyright, no money involved, just kind of thinking about how do we have these more difficult conversations, and then also having had to performance manage people in my previous role. And so the first thing I was going to say is it's actually quite helpful not to think about it as a difficult conversation, but to think about it as a necessary conversation. And that comes by thinking about it in an optimistic way, that if I have this conversation, we could improve the way that our committee runs. Or if I have this conversation, we might reduce the amount of, bad behaviour that's happening on the field. Or if I have this conversation, I might improve someone's performance even more than how they're performing at the moment. And so if we start thinking about that and we overlay it with an optimism, then it becomes a useful conversation and a conversation based on improvement. And I've put in 5 C's. The first is checking with your own emotions before you have the conversation. And if you're frustrated or angry or you are emotionally charged by what's going on in your club or in your committee table, not time to have it, or you may not be the person to have it. So it needs to be an emotionally clear conversation. Considered, you need to actually know the outcome that you seek. You need to understand and have thought about, why am I having this conversation? And then let the person know that you're having this conversation because you want to see and what's the better future that you're actually having the conversation to get to. To be really clear, to say what you mean, that sort of hedging around the conversation is not really that helpful for anyone. It's actually not fair. So if you made the decision to have the conversation and you're clear about what your outcomes is that you seek, then be clear about what you mean when you say it. Be calm. Don't say it mean. It needs to be respectful. We don't expect that people are always going to agree, and we don't expect that people will always take feedback in a constructive way. But we need to, for our own standards, make sure that it's given in a respectful way. And it's really useful to end with a question, so that if I'm asking someone to change their behaviours, ask them, are they willing to have a go at that? Or are they willing to think about that? So that you're actually handing the ball to them to say, hey, this is what I'm asking of you. Will you do that? Or will you consider it? And ask them for an answer. I'm happy to share this with you too, Fiona, in terms of, whatever's up on slides. But as leaders, we are being expected to pull up behaviours, and you know the old saying, it's the standards that you walk past that are the ones that you accept. If you allow things to happen in your club, your visible culture becomes very visible. And if it's poor culture, it can have very, very poor outcomes for your club or for your organisation. The next leadership lesson is get in front. Use your lead measures, not your lag measures. And this is where I think, we've been pretty good with COVID. We've had to really adjust and adapt to changing landscapes and changing protocols almost weekly. But the systems you develop now are the systems that are going to be helpful to you in the future. So, start thinking about, what are some of the challenges ahead? What are some of the challenges around returning? And can we start building some of those systems now? Get really clear about your mission and your vision and your values. It really does help with decision making. Our club got in front quite a few years ago and developed some really robust drug and alcohol policies, and they've been really helpful. Not that we've got lots of drug issues in the club, but we're not beyond it, and it has been very, very helpful in guiding decision making. In fact, the decisions have been made already in a more collaborative way. So try and get yourself out in front. Lesson number 4 is around sound decision making and how important it is to make decisions not based out of emotions, not based out of personal agendas, not because you want to win and you're taking this sort of win-lose mentality, that because you actually want to learn. And so I've got a bit of a model that it's actually a model that that we learnt when we were at Leisure Network. So Brooke and Fee, you'll probably be familiar with it. It actually comes out of the Coaching Institute, and it's a model that actually tries to take you away from the emotional part of the decision making. It's called the ESIP model, and I'll share it with you. Because it also, if people think in these ways, you make less mistakes, but also you're looking after the important things first. It's almost like a bit of a checklist. So, for instance, we've got a real priority around health promotion in our club. So that actually helps us to make certain decisions around the types of sponsorship that we would engage with and some of the sponsorship that we might not engage with. So it really is the structure around your decision making. So ESIP gets you to think big picture first. You think about the environment, the vision, the mission, the culture, the purpose, the strategy, the people, the club, the sustainability. And then you start thinking about, well, okay, does it fit with that or does it harm that? Yes, no, all good, let's proceed. Is it within your policy framework? Is it within your laws? Can you actually do it, you know, with respect to your bylaws or your constitution or your code of conduct or the law? You know, are you allowed to? A sponsor asks me, can they have my database? Well, I don't have to make that decision because the law's already made it for me. Then we look about implementation. You know, can we actually do it? Do we have the budget? Do we have the volunteers? Do we have the ability? Do we have the support to do it? And if that's the case, then we can go into the personal, you know, who's likely to be impacted? What's the emotional side of things? Is there some empathy needed there? And who's going to actually be the people who have to do the work? And then at the end of that all, if nothing's become clear from that, then just trust your gut and the gut of the people around you on the decision making table. So good decisions are really important, and there's some good ways to good systems to help you make those decisions. But by taking yourself away from the emotion, you know, away from the ideology, if you like, and we just don't like them, that's not a reasonable reason for a decision. If you can take yourself away from the emotional part of it and actually start thinking about it systematically, it can be helpful. And leadership lesson number 5 is, and I think we've heard this, there is no I in teams. I'm often, when we use this, someone always pipes up and says, oh yes, but there is me. And yes, there is me. And certainly the me part, I think, is you need to look after yourself. If you're going to enact leadership in be a good leader, you need to get plenty of rest and take care of your health and your mental health and have time out and not always think that you have to be the hero, because that's just simply not the case. But really what your role around the board table and in your clubs is to build great teams around you and to empower people and to step aside and let them through. So build them and build the whole, and then let them through. That's what leadership's all about. So I'm happy to sort of finish there. I've got one other tool if you wanted. It's about looking at when people don't agree, how to get consensus. But I'm happy to, before we do that, Fee, to see if anyone's got any questions or comments they want to make.
Sure. Anyone? So I suppose the main thing that I really wanted out of this whole course is to build the competency and capacity of all of the women involved to empower them and to build their confidence in taking on leadership positions in their local committee, and whether or not, you might already have a leadership position or you might be on a committee, but what's next and what area are you going to work on developing to become a better leader. So thank you, Sue, because that was fantastic that it was competence based, and it's real stuff that we all need to know. It is very difficult to present it in a really cool groovy way, but until you can learn to sing and dance with it all, we just have to listen to it. And every time I hear Sue speak, I certainly, as a committee member, learn something else, and writing a million notes thinking, and I don't do that. So they're really great tips. Thanks, Sue. Does anyone have any questions for Sue?
Probably just more of a comment from me. I think as a leader who is a dove, so the emotion does get in the way. Sue, I can see you smirking there. Sue taught me a lot around trying to remove the emotion from decision making, and I think the use of that ESIP model is something that's really helped me in my leadership journey. The other thing that we worked on at Leisure Networks and continue to work on is that opportunity for green light conversation. So where there is a difficult conversation, to lead into that conversation saying, I need to have a green light conversation with you. Do I have permission to have that? And the person that you may be working with or delivering a message to or looking at performance or providing feedback to knows that it's something that's super important and knows that it might be something that potentially makes you feel uncomfortable. So them giving you that that green light to have that conversation is certainly a strategy that we've been using at Leisure Networks for a number of years. So thank you, Sue. Appreciate your presentation.
Can
I'll show you the thing I learnt today then, everyone.
Yeah, go on, Sue. Yep.
So it's called From Five to Fist, and I'm working with a group of people who don't agree with each other. So there's an idea on the table and they don't agree. And they're trying to find some consensus. So I went and had a bit of a Google around today. So from five to fist is when you've got a group of people that don't agree. Ideologically, what it's doing is it's saying you want to work with the people who nearly agree more than with the people who don't. So five to fist is you basically put up a recommendation or an idea or a decision. And if you're a five, you ask people to show hand. If you're a five, it means, hey, man, I'm in. I am so in agreement with you. Every aspect of that's awesome. If you're a four, it means nearly there. Not quite, but you know, I could be talked about. If I'm a three, probably don't really care. If I'm a two, I'm not really happy with the idea at all. If I'm a one, there's so much wrong with the idea that, you know, you're going to have to work really hard with me. And if I'm a fist, I'm just a resistor. All right, I'm going to resist you no matter what. And what the leader was telling us to do was to say, all right, well, get people so you know the level of resistance, and then start working with thoughts and say, okay, write down the sort of parameters around how we could turn you into a four into a five. And I was thinking about this particular group who've got a wall between a cricket club and a footy club, and they're trying to break down the wall. And I was thinking about, you know, the fours were things like, the cricket club would leave it really messy at the end of their season. Well, that's kind of easily fixed. You extend your cleaning contract for a bit longer. You know, the four things. So the ones who were the fours had some really sort of really easily fixed things that could happen. And by the time you worked down from the fours and said, all right, let's try and collaboratively find a solution for that. Yep, great, we could do that. Yep, great, we could do that. By the time they got down to the threes, a lot of the actual really tangible problems with the idea had been nutted out. And so when you get down to the one and the guy says, oh, we just bloody hate him. You're in a position to say that's actually not reasonable. That's not actually a reasonable reason why both clubs should only have half the club room for their part of the season. It's not reasonable. So anyway, that's just my fist to five. I thought I'd finish.
Can I say, Sue, that's actually the issue, is that it's a relationship, might be a power struggle or something. So the cleaning of the club room isn't actually the issue. That's what they're clutching at. Correct. To have as an excuse. It's actually the one.
You've got a critical mass then.
Yeah.
So you've got all your fives, your fours, your threes, maybe some of your twos. You've got a critical mass, and that's really what you need for consensus, is to get a critical mass. So anyway, I'm going to try it with my cricket footy club. See how they go.
Yeah, good luck. That is great. Has anyone got any comments? Is anyone? I'm just interested with the information that Sue has shared with us. Is that information that you're familiar with Was there anything new? It is. I'm very mindful. It's 10 to 5 on a Friday afternoon.
I like the idea that Sue mentioned around, am I the right person to be talking or should I be asking questions? I thought that was a great thought that I hadn't really thought about. Not necessarily am I the right one to talk, but who else is, but what questions can I be asking? That's cool. Thanks, Sue.
I agree. I think that approach to knowing when to talk, not just talking for the sake of talking, approaching it strategically on that kind of consideration, I think is really important too. It's a good takeaway. I think I'm probably guilty myself of talking a lot often, so having to pull back a little bit and think, hang on, is this going to add to the conversation, or is it just again, talking for the sake of talking?
And for someone who does that all the time, I think the other thing too is we don't have to know the answers. So it's okay to say, I actually don't know, but someone else might. So let's ask them. Or even the person that you're speaking to, direct them to go and ask. So you don't have to be the messenger sort of saying, oh, I'll find out for you, but I don't know, ask so-and-so, and then let me know if you don't get anywhere. Because I feel, for me anyway, I always take that responsibility of I'm supposed to know everything, and you can't. It's actually not good to anyway. I reckon you need to share it.
I also think, Sue, you mentioned the setting the different levels between the board and the governance level down to management, and I think that's really important if you're sitting on a board as well. I think sometimes boards can get a bit guilty of becoming too operational, and I think then you're kind of stepping into what should be management positions, and you're kind of doing half a job yourself. So you're doing half of what you should be doing at the board level because you're trying to do all the other work. And then the person at the level down is only doing half their job because the board's trying to take it, and it kind of trickles down through that. I think it's really important to stick to what your wheelhouse is. If it is on the board, it's governance. I think that is really good as well to separate that out.
Fantastic. Does anyone else have anything? Because I'm just going to wrap up with the last bit of information for the session. Unless, no, yeah. Thanks, Jessie, for that. So the call to action so thank you so much, everyone, and thank you very much for being, engaged and asking the questions and commenting, and that's what we really want. So your call to action for next session is to complete the reflection. I might shorten it, so it's just 3 or 4 questions, and if you can just jump on and do it, that'd be great. But there's also a leadership self-assessment that I'm really keen for everyone to complete. And I've actually done it on forms through Teams, but I don't know at the moment how to access that. So what I'll do is put it everywhere. I'll email it to you. I'll put it on the Facebook page. It's in Teams. But if you could complete that and feed it back sort of a couple of weeks prior, so if you can do that sort of in the next week, that'd be great, because that gives me some time to collate it and have a look at it, so that I can make sure that we're hitting the mark with what you're all after. And I think that was, and thank you for so much engagement around the Facebook page too. I'm really looking forward to more engagement and everyone sharing things that they've come across. I'm sorry if I'm inundating you. You can just keep scrolling, but I really would love you to share your resources, because as we know, we're a huge wealth of knowledge between all of us. The other reminder is Women's Health Week is coming up from the 5th to the 12th of September, and there are events all over the state. So if you get on the Jean Hales Women's Health Week and just type in your postcode, you'll see lots of events happening everywhere. And your Miro board. So after today's session, maybe it will be the reflection that I send through. If you can just have another slide on if you're doing a Miro board. If you're not doing a Miro board, that's cool. Put it on a piece of paper and have it in your journal, whatever that might be, to talk about your takeaways and to think about what might have sparked a new thought or a light bulb moment for you from today. I did have a quiz organised, but I've put way too much work into it to rush through it. So I'm going to hold it off for the next session and we'll start with it. Yeah. So that's it from me. Does anyone have any questions about how we're communicating with you, or any comments on how we can make the communication? A month is a long time, but a short time. It seems to come around quickly when I've got things to do, but 4 weeks in between drinks, so to speak, is a little bit of time as well. So yeah, I'm hoping that you all feel comfortable with at least emailing me if there's any issues. Okay, and remember, anyone who hasn't presented, can you please be ready to present next session? Okay, all right. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
See you. Have a great weekend.
Bye.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Sue.
Sue.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a great weekend, everyone.
Amazing.
Beep.
Bye.